Well, current president Joe Biden is officially pardoning his son, Hunter Biden.
Hilary Clinton is considering running for 2028 presidency.
There's a crypto entrepreneur who ate banana artwork that he purchased for $6.2 million. So what am I talking about here?
I hate it here.
Right? Episode 44 of the Unscripted Company podcast. For our loyal subscribers, welcome back. For those of you, maybe it's your first time tuning in, we are happy to have you here. Riley and I, we have some fun topics that we're going to go over with you here in a moment. There's some breaking news that, I don't know, Riley, if you saw before the podcast happened. It just so happens to be something that current President Biden did to alleviate potentially any criminal charges against his own spawn. I'll just leave it at that. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the format of this podcast, we're going to dive in some trending topics here in a moment. But first, we like to kick off with what we call the Watercooler and really kind of catch up on how each other's weeks went. Because, Riley, I don't know if you know, like Thanksgiving was this past week. We didn't talk about it at all on last week's podcast, knowing that we had Thanksgiving coming up. But curious, like, I don't know, there's a lot that goes on. There's like vacations and family and food, and there's a lot of football, especially in the state of Texas, things like that. So I just want to pick your brain, man. What did you end up doing anything fun for Thanksgiving? Did you stay home? Did you go see the parents? How was your Thanksgiving?
We did our Thanksgiving the Saturday prior. It made sense for all of our families and stuff like that, or made sense for Dana's family. But then we, talked to my parents and they were like, yeah, we can go ahead and just do it that Saturday too. So we did ours then. But then the Wednesday before or something like that, I was at the store and, or I was on my way to the store because I had to pick up a couple things for just normal, groceries. And, I called Dana and I was like, hey, like, let's just do like a cheap Thanksgiving. Like, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Let's just pick up normal Thanksgiving stuff. So picked up like the turkey stovetop stuffing, like the already pre-made mac and cheese and mashed potato bowls. And so we finagled those and made those like a little bit more classy, so to speak. Got some more turkey and stuff, but then we also made some homemade fried chicken cutlets that were breaded with like turkey seasonings, various seasonings that you would use for turkeys. Then we did like homemade yams and cranberry sauce and all that kind of stuff. So like we just did like a little cheap Thanksgiving. We still actually have some leftovers that we're going to eat tonight for dinner, but yeah, we just hung out at home. Like, I mean, I did a little bit of work, but I didn't do a lot because, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. No one's going to really respond. So I reached out to a lot of people the day before. Then I reached out to people the day after. But because, again, it's the holiday time, people are in that holiday mode where they're probably not going to fully respond. They got all the events, all the fun things that they're doing, and they're focused on that, not focused on, wanting to go look at houses or properties or whatever. So,
yeah, they're checked out.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people are. Like, I don't want to be checked out. So I'm like, okay, I got to really, this is now the time to hone in to really get my stuff set up for next year. So that's what I did last year, and it worked out. So I'm doing the same thing again this year, really trying to get myself set up for success for the early year next year, for hopefully if the rates start coming down pretty low or start dropping next year, it would work out. So what about you?
Yeah. Did a Thanksgiving lunch at the in-laws. So at Abby's parents' place. It's I guess you could technically say it's a suburb of Austin now, north of here. So we did that. Spent the day up there. Typical stuff. I mean, we actually did a brisket. So her mom had bought a brisket. We did that. But then all the other sides were typical, mac and cheese, green bean casserole, rolls. What else would we do? Pie, just the typical stuff like that. But it kept it pretty chill this year. So most of her side of the family was all on different vacations. Like her older brother and his wife were up in Dallas, and her uncle, who typically hangs out, he went on a cruise. So he was on a cruise during he's definitely in like retirement life, so it was like more power to him. But yeah, he went on a cruise and did that. So it was just me, her, mother and father-in-law, and then her middle brother. So it was really just 5 of us. It's pretty chill.
Yeah. I tend to like those. Like, I miss the big family Thanksgivings because it's like the families that used to be those family members that would keep everyone together.
Yeah.
You don't have those anymore. So it's like, it kind of sucks, but then sometimes it's like, it's just nice to not have all the loud noise and commotion, which at my in-laws, usually it's very loud and stuff in a lot of cases, but her oldest nephew invited his girlfriend. And so everyone kept it real chill this time because they didn't want to like, scare her off or anything.
Yeah.
And so it was his girlfriend and then her brother's girlfriend, which she's been over there at some family gatherings before, but this being the first Thanksgiving, she was there as well. And so it was nice. It was chill. And like, I like the brisket idea though, because like a lot of people were like, can we just please switch to brisket for like the official Thanksgiving food instead of turkeys? I like turkey. I like ham. I like brisket. To be fair, if, whenever we start doing Thanksgiving in our house, when we get our house, I'm probably going to have all three. I'll smoke a brisket, I'll cook a turkey, and I'll smoke a ham. I don't care. I'll do all three. But this is a question not only for you, but for our viewers out there, even though it is already after Thanksgiving, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Throughout all your years of Thanksgiving, because you probably had a whole bunch. It never really stays the same.
Yeah.
But you might have been introduced to new things. What's your overall favorite Thanksgiving dish?
So funny enough, stuffing, or technically I guess it's dressing if you're not technically stuffing the bird with it. I used to not like dressing at all growing up, like as a kid and like even through high school and I don't know, maybe even into college a little bit. But for some reason, I just ended up loving dressing. It's so simple. And I think I like it because I don't get it any other time of the year. It's typically Thanksgiving and then maybe Christmas.
Right.
And it's such a simple thing that, but also, I mean, coconut cream pie, dude, I love coconut cream pie. Dude, yes, it's, man, chef's kiss. It's the bee's knees. And so I typically, only get that around the holiday seasons too. So that's up there too. Two rather typical things, but what about you?
So it's hard to kind of decide because I've been introduced to new things ever since, being married and stuff like that. So her mom makes this recipe called crack green beans, and it's green beans with bacon, like Worcestershire sauce, like garlic, like all these things, but they're amazing. Then there's also the dressings, and I've had multiple different dressings over the years, but I do enjoy me some dressing. I'd probably have to say, I don't know. I would have to agree with the dressing because again, it's one of those things where you don't get it all the time. You only get it, but then again, candy jams. I love my mom's candy jams. Like, they're amazing. Like I made them for the first time myself for our Thanksgiving, but then I also added cinnamon and nutmeg to them. Oh my God. Like I made something that I should not have made. As far as dessert, I'm going to have to say apple pie.
Okay.
Apple pie is it. You say the bee's knees is coconut cream pie, man. The apple pie for me is the bee's knees. Like my mom doesn't make it a whole lot anymore, but she switched to apple dumplings now instead, which are just as good.
Yeah.
But she used to always make an apple pie every single year for Thanksgiving because she knew that was the one dessert that I wanted was apple pie. And so it doesn't matter what other desserts she makes, as long as she makes an apple pie. And then I bring like half of it home. And then I hate myself for the next 4 days because I'm spending the next 4 days just slowly eating that apple pie. And I'm like, what have I done? Why have I done this to myself?
That's very American of you, sir, to go in on the apple pie like that.
I love it though. And I mean, I like pumpkin pie. So I'm not a pecan pie guy by any means. Like Dana is, I'm just not. And I like pumpkin pie, but apple pie is just something that I don't get. And you can't just make an apple pie. Like there's a good homemade way to do it. And there's just like, okay, I'm just going to go buy the cheap can of cinnamon apples and just toss it in there. No, my mom does it from scratch. She cuts and peels the apples and she cooks them herself. And it's amazing. But yeah, for our listeners out there, I know it's already after Thanksgiving, but if you want to leave it in the comments, what your favorite Thanksgiving food is. To be fair, Thanksgiving food and Christmas food are kind of one and the same.
If you think about it, Thanksgiving is just like the pregame for Christmas in terms of the culinary aspect of it. Like, don't get me wrong. Some families go all out for Thanksgiving, like the Thanksgiving lunch or dinner, whenever they serve it. But a lot of the, like you mentioned, a lot of the same dishes kind of cross between Thanksgiving and
They do.
Christmas. So Thanksgiving is just really a pregame.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have some, like our families are just going to do like snack foods for the Christmas this year, because then you have all the other festive fun things that you do. So they just want to do like a whole table full of just snack foods, dips, and all that kind of stuff. And so you just kind of just grab and pull and eat what you want to eat as you're kind of just going throughout the day. That's what our families are planning on doing. But I agree with you, though. It is usually like a pregame kind of thing. And so since Christmas is coming up and it's a lot of the same foods, again, if you have a favorite food for Thanksgiving, we'd love to hear that. And we'll chat about that later. But
Dude, it's also December. Like the
it
year is
December.
almost over.
It is December.
I feel like 2024 was just getting started. But like when we tune in, what, 3 episodes from now? Maybe 4 episodes from now. It's going to be 2025.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And yesterday was Dana's birthday. I want to give a shout out to her. So it was her birthday.
Happy belated birthday, Dana.
So
I know you're listening right now. Happy birthday. Hope you legitimately had a good one.
Dude.
I'll have Riley yell it to you after we're done recording.
She got to pet a capybara.
I forgot about, you had the whole experience,
so we went to
the
that
zoo
thing,
experience.
And we got to pet a capybara, a wallaby. We got to feed emus, which is pretty cool. We also got to feed the capybaras too, but like she had like 2 like they had 4 in the cage. So we went to the cage with them, and she got to pet them and play with them and stuff, and it was fun. So I got pictures of her doing all that, but it was awesome. It was amazing. So
nice. No, that's exciting. I'm glad you had that. I'm glad she had that experience. It was fun. Yeah. The other thing, just to bring up, so at least in the state of Texas, Thanksgiving is a big football holiday. I don't want to go too deep onto this, but I thought the Cowboys were done for the year. I said this last week. They might still be, honestly, but they've created a 2-win streak. Who knows? It could all still be downhill from here, but they won Thanksgiving Day, which I think in Jerry Jones's eyes and heart, they might as well have won the Super Bowl this year, because everyone tunes in on Thanksgiving. And as long as the Cowboys look good on Thanksgiving, he can keep selling t-shirts. So yep. I don't know. Does it change your opinion at all? Or you still think it's just a flash in the pan and it's still all downhill from here?
I don't think it's. Here's the thing. They have, I haven't really looked at their full schedule yet, but they still have some tough games coming up. And if I'm being honest, they still have a chance to make wild card. They really do. What they do with that is totally up to them. But I have been seeing a lot more chatter out there about the huge $240 million mistake that Jerry Jones made in Dak Prescott. I have still been seeing more about that. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be talks after the season, if they're going to try to trade him off, maybe to get some better draft picks. But so far, Cooper Rush has played the last 2 games, and we have won those 2 games. Just saying. And granted, they haven't been amazing teams. I mean, we played the Giants, and I can't remember what the other team was that we played before that, but we played the Giants for one of them. And we won those 2 games. But everyone's saying how they're like, oh, well, they beat teams that aren't that great. A win is a win. It was
Washington. That's who they played. They played Washington.
Oh, yeah. So Washington's leading our division. They beat Washington and they beat the Giants. That's 2 back-to-back divisional games that they won. You can say what you want. A win is a win, though, especially against your top team in your division. So, again, we'll see what happens. The season's not over till it's over. That's what I always say. Season's not over till it's over. So they still have a chance to make wild card, but they would have to win. How many games do they have left? Like, they're, 5-7? No. They're 4-7 right now, right?
They are
4-6.
That sounds about right. Let's see here. Coming up on Monday, December 9th, they're going to play the Bengals. They are currently, oh my gosh, just tell me the score. 5-7.
5-7. So that means that they've got 5 games left. So they would probably have to win 3 or 4 out of those 5 games.
Yeah.
To make wild card. I think that would be, that's around what I would assume would have to be the case.
Yeah,
and
they got the Bengals up next, then the Panthers, then the Buccaneers, then the Eagles, then the Washington Commanders, which I saw there's now an effort to make the Commanders the Redskins again. So that'll be interesting. I saw that. We'll probably talk about that if and when that happens.
So their last 3 games are going to be tough games. So they would have to win at least the first of those few games, and then if they lose the last 2, then that's fine. They could probably still make wild card, but again, they can make it all they want. Whatever you decide to do it with that is what makes the difference in the world. So we'll just kind of we'll leave that alone right there. I
Yeah.
saw that you said the Texas A&M game. So
Yeah, man, that's so for those of you that are outside of the state of Texas, it's kind of a big deal that the University of Texas and Texas A&M University played each other the weekend after Thanksgiving because they hadn't played each other in like 13, 14 years.
yeah,
They were on a hiatus. There's a lot of drama behind why that happened, but long story short, it used to be a Thanksgiving tradition in the state of Texas that basically the funny part of it was it didn't matter if you went to college, didn't matter where you went to college. Everyone kind of picked a side. Usually, most of the time, it had to do with the bloodlines of the family of who was historically a fan of which side.
yeah,
For those of you not in the know, typically the side of UT is considered more white collar, and the side of A&M is considered more blue collar. So that's kind of where that battle happens there. But they played each other, and man, I was watching it with a bunch of my like longtime friends, and they all went to UT and graduated from there. And man, they were passionate, like emphasis on the passionate side of like they were the football fans that were yelling at the TV, making sure that like their team knew that they were cheering for them, even though we were 100 miles away watching on a television. It was a fun game to say the least, though. The atmosphere alone, I don't know if you got a chance to even just like see clips or peek on it. No worries if not, but man, Texas and Texas A&M going at it on Thanksgiving. It just feels like the state of Texas is back.
I mean, Texas, they made it to the championship in their first year in the SEC. So, I mean, I don't know how many teams have been able to say that they've done that, ever. I mean, we could probably go back and look, but we're not going to do that right now. But yeah, this is their first year in the SEC and they made it to the SEC championship. So, I don't know who they're playing.
I believe they're going to be matched up with Georgia.
Is it Georgia?
I believe so.
That's going to be a good game.
And Georgia's the only team that beat them earlier this year. So Texas has only lost.
It matters, though.
That's the real question. We will find out.
Yeah.
That game's this upcoming Saturday, so I'm sure I'll probably mention it in next week's podcast, which is a good reason why those of you listening should tune in, because I know everybody cares about UT's football score, apparently.
Right.
But yeah. Enough about that with the water cooler. Riley, I know we didn't really talk about this beforehand, but I do have some breaking news I can go into if you'd like, unless I saw you had some topics as well, which you're happy to lead off with if you would like.
I mean, you can part of yours, like for what you have, kind of leads into part of what I have as well. So it's kind of an overall general, like political, economic topic. So let's go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Let me share this. Breaking news, literally breaking news. Like this news broke 15, 20 minutes before we hit record on this podcast. Well, current president Joe Biden is officially pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, despite previously pledges to not do that. This is according to the AP News. President Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter, on Sunday night, sparing the younger Biden a possible prison sentence for federal felony gun and tax convictions and reversing his past promises not to use the extraordinary powers of the presidency for the benefit of his family members. The Democratic president had previously said he would not pardon his son or commute his sentence after his convictions in the two cases in Delaware and California. The move comes weeks before Hunter Biden was set to receive his punishment after his trial conviction in the gun case and guilty plea on tax charges, and less than 2 months before President-elect Donald Trump is set to return to the White House. Now, what's kind of interesting about this, I'm going to throw up some tweets I saw on the topic.
So if you get pardoned by one president, does that mean the other presidents can't come after you?
Yes. Basically, you are like, based on what the pardon is encompassing of, you are 100% immune from that. Just like you cannot be convicted on that for any other reason. Now, if he goes and commits new crimes, then yes, definitely.
So like the next president can't come in and say like, no, you're not pardoned for that anymore. Like
exactly. Yeah. He's pardoned at this point.
Man.
Now, what's interesting is if we start to look at some of the details around the pardon. So this is from Clandestine on X. Basically, the post says, Joe pardoned Hunter for all crimes he might be involved in starting on January 1st, 2014. So it's very interesting if you think about the length of time or the timestamps here that are being selectively chosen for this pardon. So why did Joe Biden pick this date? According to Clandestine, and there's some other pieces of evidence out here we could easily turn to, this is not unique to this post. It says, because in 2014 is when the CIA and State Department took over Ukraine. 2014 is when Hunter's biolab company, Metabiota, began looking for coronaviruses in the Ukraine. Joe is not just covering the drug and gun possession charges. Joe is running cover for all of Hunter's criminality in Ukraine, which is really Joe's criminality in Ukraine when you think about it. This is not just a pardon for Hunter. This is a pardon for Joe. And so there's a part of here's a snippet from the actual pardon in and of itself. It says, this is, of course, from President Biden directly. It says, to all to whom these presents shall come, greeting, be it known that this day I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, included any that have resulted in convictions by Special Counsel David C. Weiss and docket number yada, yada, yada. It goes into the actual court listing there. In testimony whereof I have hereunto signed my name and caused the pardon to be recorded with the Department of Justice. So that's the official statement from President Biden on the topic.
I don't think he wrote that.
No, he did not write that himself. Of course not. It was one of his staffers for sure put that together. Yeah. But then we also have another post from Unusual Whales, another frequenter of X. It says, breaking, Biden pardoning his son Hunter is not only for the gun and tax convictions, but about any crime he might have committed in the last decade. This is a move to immune Hunter from any potential investigation by the Trump administration, per Axios. And then one of my favorite accounts on this entire website, Autism Capital, posted, just dropping this off here, May 12th, 2014, in Ukraine, Burisma announces Hunter Biden joined its board of directors. So, what have we learned here today through this news and this pardoning? I think Hunter and Joe Biden, Hunter in particular, are beyond a reasonable doubt allegedly extremely guilty of everything that they are being questioned about. But we'll never know because he's been blessed with a pardon.
And so is Joe.
Yeah.
So at this point, then you could just Trump could just go into office and just be like, you know what? I pardon myself for everything that I allegedly did in the last 10 years. And they technically could not go after him for any of that stuff.
I definitely would need to refresh myself on the legalities of the pardon. Someone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments about this, but I don't believe the president can pardon himself. But there are conditions where a sitting president cannot be prosecuted for certain types of crimes, if I understand it correctly.
I'll be honest, that sounds about right. He could wait until after his term is getting ready to be up and then find some way to kind of pull a loophole like Joe Biden did here with pardoning his son because he was involved in the same stuff that his son was involved in. So he pardoned his son, therefore pardoning him.
Yeah. And you have like historical scenarios where when Richard Nixon stepped down, he vacated the office of the presidency because he was probably going to be impeached and removed from office. Mm-hmm. The next president, Gerald Ford, pardoned Nixon. It was like an olive branch, like hey, we just want to, as a country, we want to put this behind us. There was a whole movement or a conversation that boiled up maybe about 2 years ago. It was early in the Biden administration where Biden should have pardoned Trump And then if Trump were to take office, he should have pardoned Biden. Like, it was a whole thing of like, let's just pardon everybody and like, let's just move on from this nonsense. Like, let's
Right.
just put it behind us and like, let's look forward and be positive and productive about what we're doing.
Right.
Which now it'll be interesting because now the narrative could be, you can't say he's guilty because he's being pardoned and you can't really like dig too deep in this. But at the same time, it's like the court of public opinion is like, well, if he was innocent, you wouldn't be pardoning him, you know? So it's like, why are you pardoning him? And what else is there that we may never know about?
Joe didn't come up with all this by himself. He didn't just make this decision.
No,
it
not at
was
all.
The Democratic Party that did, that had the people that he talked with. But speaking of, like what you just mentioned about like, when a president gets out of office, like the new sitting president could pardon the former president.
Yeah.
Hilary Clinton is considering running for 2028 presidency. I'll be honest, again, not that we pick sides here because we don't, but I don't want her in office.
I'll pick a side and say anything but, not anything but
true.
like, I don't know.
Well, my thing is I feel like there should, again, I feel like with any career path, first of all, again, I stand by that you shouldn't have career politicians.
Yeah.
You should not be able to make a career out of being a politician, meaning like you shouldn't be able to start when you're in your 30s and be in your 70s or 80s and still be in the same position that you were in when you first started almost. Hillary Clinton, I don't know how old she is.
Let's find out. Let me do a quick Google search here. As of recording,
I think
she is 77 years old.
Okay. Retirement age is 65. That's when you retire 65. She should not be allowed to run for president. To be fair, Donald Trump's in his 70s too. Joe Biden is in his 80s. None of them should have been allowed to run for president. I think we need to start getting, because you have to be 35, dude. When was the last time we had a 35-year-old presidential candidate?
Dude, I don't know.
How old is Vivek?
Let's see, youngest presidents. Who are the youngest presidents? List of presidents by age. Let's see here. Age at the start of presidency. Let's rank these from youngest. Teddy Roosevelt, your boy Theodore. He was 42 years old when he took office. He was 50 years old when he left office.
So he ran 2 consecutive terms then.
Second youngest, JFK.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy. He was 43 years old when he took office, 46 when he vacated the seat, vacated the planet. Third youngest, Bill Clinton. He was 46. And then
that's what I'm saying. We don't have young presidents anymore.
Yeah, they're all at least minimum 42 years old, it seems.
And all these people that were presidents, like, when you kind of start like Bill Clinton and all of them, they've been lifetime politicians. Like ever since they were old enough to be in politics, they've been in politics to work their way up to the presidency. And then you have people who never took office, like Hillary Clinton, that she spent almost her entire career in politics, and she wants to take the presidency in 2028. Now, will it happen? We don't know. So they, at the Clinton Presidential Center's 20th anniversary dinner, there's more speculation that she may run again in 2028. However, polling data indicates that Vice President Kamala Harris is dominating the Democratic race, and skeptics cite her age as a major obstacle. So again, she is younger than Clinton. Clinton has not stated that she intends to run for office again, despite the speculations. Just so people can kind of see what I'm reading from. There has been increasing speculation that Hillary Clinton would run for president for the United States again in 2028. Her involvement in the Clinton Presidential Center's 20th anniversary gala recently increased the excitement. Although there has been no official confirmation, the speculations have been stoked by a number of circumstances surrounding the incident. So there's just, I saw a Twitter post that said that she was going to be running again, but again, this is all just speculation. So we just got a new administration. I'm not focused on 4 years from now. I'm focused on here and now in the next year or two for what changes are really going to start taking place.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, the only 3 people that I could see running for at least off the top of my head, running for the 3 potential Democratic Party is Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, and the governor of California. I always forget his name. Gavin Newsom.
I've also seen that AOC has started to throw her name out there a little bit. But here's the whole thing. like we just got through one election cycle. We still haven't even gotten the president elect to become technically
They're
the
already
president
trying to
yet.
do all kinds of stuff right now to try to throw everyone off, and it's like, just chill out.
Also,
What?
it's like, dude, 4 years from now is going to be like a lifetime away. We have no idea who the power players are going to be, where the country's going to be.
We
Like,
might not even be here.
think about the last year alone, or think about the last 4 years of like Biden's presidency.
Dude, it feels like a blur if I'm being honest. It feels
Yeah.
like it wasn't even real.
But at the moment, though, didn't it feel like it was taking forever?
It
Like,
truly
you can
did.
go find on this podcast alone, if you go back, I don't know, 12, 15, 20 episodes, like we were talking about, like, oh man, like, who do you think is going to win the election? We were like, I don't know. They're still like 6 months away, and
The
it's like so much
assassination
could change.
attempts, like all that. So
Yeah.
much happened in just those episodes that we talked about, even just briefly mentioning things. But I truly do think that people just need to calm down. Let's see what happens in these next 4 years. I'll be honest, I don't want AOC in there either. I'm not a big fan of her.
Yeah.
She kind of just, I'm not saying she's not knowledgeable, but she sometimes does spout off nonsense. And I mean, kudos to her. I mean, she was a former bartender working in restaurants and transitioned into politics, but I definitely think you should have some sort of background in politics, or at least like a little bit more knowledge where you just transition from a server life into that. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know how all the intricacies work. But yeah, so again, we don't know what's going to happen. Like you said, there could be different power players by then. Hillary Clinton may not be around. You know, none of these other people may not be around. Who knows? Kamala Harris may be phased out by then. Like, and this is just all this is just speculation based off the heat of the moment from what's happened in the past month and a half. So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see what happens.
For a quick chuckle, real quick, on a lighter note, I don't know if you saw this news. There's a crypto entrepreneur who ate banana artwork that he purchased for $6.2 million. So what am I talking about here?
I hate it here.
Right? A Chinese-born cryptocurrency entrepreneur has followed through on his promise to eat the banana from a $6.2 million artwork he bought last week. Justin's Sun outbid 6 others to claim Maurizio Catalan's infamous 2019 work Comedian, a banana duct taped to a wall at Sotheby's auction house in New York. He ate the fruit during a news conference in Hong Kong, where he used the moment to draw parallels between the artwork and cryptocurrency. And for those of you curious, what the heck am I actually talking about here? I conveniently have a video of what I'm talking about here. So there literally was a banana duct taped to a wall that was sold at auction for $6 million. This guy made a ton of money in cryptocurrency, and so he purchased it and opted to peel the duct tape off the wall and the banana. And here momentarily, I'll try to narrate this like I'm an ESPN commentator. He starts to peel the banana ever so graciously, doing the traditional back of the banana technique, continues to peel it into thirds, and he takes a delicious bite and chuckles while doing so. Just know this guy has oodles and oodles of money, so this was just a drop in the bucket to him. But I do appreciate the comedy and the humor of someone took this as serious artwork and goes, you know what? I'm going to buy it and I'm going to eat it.
That's like the most. I have no words. Like, I'm over here like, you know, praying and hoping that, like, I don't want that much money in life, but I want to live a good life, like, in my later years. But the fact that people like this just throw money like that around for a freaking banana that you could just go spend 56 cents at the grocery store for a singular banana and then eat that banana. But this guy's like, I got the money. And then it might go to a good cause. Who knows? Like the money, because usually with art auctions, they go to a good cause. But it's like, dude, like, and that, what makes me more mad is that's art.
Would it be safe to say that it drives you bananas?
I hate it here.
So that's my light chuckle for the episode. What do you got?
Nothing. I mean, as far as like I guess a light chuckle. It's not really a light chuckle, but apparently this Black Friday had record sales.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Um,
e-commerce, I guess, because I don't know anyone that still goes in person. Gone are the days of
dude,
people risking their life for a DVD player.
there were actually quite a few, from what I heard, there were quite a few stores that actually like people were, it wasn't just all e-commerce. So this
Okay.
is Financial Times. There's definitely other websites you can go check out, but it says many of us, of course, are like, or wait, hello, welcome to the working week, or if you're reading this in the U.S., welcome to the next 3 working days and happy Thanksgiving. Many of us, of course, are likely to feel connected to America's long holiday weekend as the phenomenon of Black Friday, traditionally linked to shopping after the Thanksgiving turkey has been gobbled down, has gone global. Consultancy Bain estimates that from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, U.S. retail sales could reach a record-breaking $75 billion. The bean counters at PwC are predicting a record breaking across the Atlantic with 7.1 billion pounds of sales in the UK market. There will no doubt be pictures broadcast of rugby scrum scenes in shopping centers, but experts such as EY and consumer behavior specialist Circana say that this reality is likely to be more online shopping and people waiting for better deals as retailers become more desperate to shift stock. Beyond shopping, a key event in the UK calendar is Friday's vote in Parliament on the assisted dying bill proposed as a private member's bill by Labour MP Kim Leadbeater. Approval of this highly contentious piece of legislation would be a seismic change for the country. If rejected, the debate goes away for now. So, like, as far as America, that's that one, and then across the Atlantic for 7.1 billion pounds. I don't know what the exchange rate is for that, but I can tell you right now the 7.1 billion pounds is nothing probably close to the 75 billion in US dollars.
We had a revolution. I don't need to worry about that.
That's fair. But yeah, so that's actually pretty surprising because I don't think we've had sales even close to that since before COVID.
Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I've never actually really looked into what the financial numbers and figures were behind
Right.
Black Friday.
But the thing is what sparked this though? That's what I'm curious about. Like, was it like prices for it? Because prices really haven't gone down for a lot of stuff yet. You know, like we
No,
haven't
they
really
always
seen
have like the artificial sales where they like the price is still the same that it always is, but they, you know how they can say like, oh, the price is $7.99, but it used to be $12.99.
All
But in
right.
reality, it's like the price has always been $7.99. They're just making it look like it used to be more expensive at one point.
There was a big thing about that last year. I think it was last year
Maybe I think like
that
every major retailer's been caught doing it at least once.
yeah, it was so funny. I wanted to say something because I was over at Walmart and they were putting the TVs out and getting stuff ready for Black Friday, and they were changing out the price tags or whatever. And part of me wanted to say, now is that the original price of this TV, or is it actually going to be lower than the actual original
Yeah,
price? But I didn't want to. I didn't want to stir anything up. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Um, yeah, nothing crazy, but it's again, I'm just kind of interested as to like what really sparked that growth in sales that happened. There wasn't really a whole.
everyone's itching to use their credit card.
Dude, that's scary though, man. That's another reason why I don't want to get another credit card. Like I want one for business, but it's solely used for business purchases, whether it be a business lunch, coffee, meetings, whatever the case may be that I would spend money on for work. That's all it's going to be used for. But people that willingly go, like, they get credit cards and they get roped in too, like Cabela's.
Yeah,
Okay, Cabela's has their club card. I've got one, and they always say like 0% APR for the first 12 months, and then it goes up to 9.99. Survey says that was a lie because that sucker exceeded like 15 freaking percent, and and they even tell you like it can fluctuate, but never that high. And I even like they always ask like, do you want to use your club card? And I was like, do you want to lower that interest rate to like the actual 10%? Because like
dude,
I'll
a lot of credit cards earn 20 to 30 something percent APR. Like,
dude,
yeah.
there's 2 cards that I found. So the local, just a quick little thing before we move on, but the local bank here that we have most of our stuff on right now,
Oh yeah,
they
what's your
just
PIN number?
um, they just got a credit card. It's called the Patriot card, and it actually has the lowest rates on the market. Like they don't go above 10% on anything. Like it does not go above 10. And so I may check it out and get more information on it. But if I go to Chase to open up a Chase account, they have that Chase Freedom card that has 0 annual fees and it's got low interest rates as well.
Isn't it funny that they call it freedom?
It's not. But here's the thing, though. If I can be diligent and pay it off every single month and hopes that I recoup that money from, making sales and doing business, and cool. Like, I'm all for it. But people use credit. Here's the thing. If you didn't have the credit cards, and I get, living paycheck to paycheck, it's not easy. Like, we're still kind of doing it, in a sense. But you can get out of it. You just have to be more smart you just have to be smarter with your money, like, don't go buy that $7 Starbucks drink that you buy almost every single day of the week. Start buying your coffee and make it at home. If you invest in a cheap $50 Keurig and just start buying your pods, there you go. There's your coffee, and you saved money that way. Like, people just need to be smarter. And I'm not saying people are dumb. It's just a lot of people just they weren't educated. Like, let me ask you a question. When you were in school, did you take any classes on money management?
Okay. So funny you say that. Like, I didn't really like understand it and adopt it at the time, but technically as part of my economics course, we actually went through one of Dave Ramsey's curriculums.
You lucky sucker.
Yeah. It was like our school district had it. So it was just very early.
Man.
Like the whole concept. And this was like before the modern version of it. So it was still that version of, you take the cash, you put the cash into the envelopes, right, and each envelope's for a specific thing. And
dude, I did that for so long.
Yeah. Like, I never actually technically did like the cash version, because I've always, I don't know. I rarely carry cash on me. I'm like, it's just, I'm weird about that.
I carry a little bit. You never know when you might need it.
I'll carry like, $50 and like 5s or 10s or something like
right.
that. But I know some people carry around like, they always have $500 in their wallet or some nonsense. And I'm like, dude, that one time you'll lose your wallet, or like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to have the opportunity to be robbed.
Well, two things on that. I actually accidentally lost, like, I think it was like $150 out of my wallet. I meant to go take it to the bank. Went to Walmart and I was like, "Hey, could y'all run back the security cameras?" They were like, "Oh, we can only show you the security footage if you want to file a police report." I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Just let me see the freaking camera so I can see if I drop my money here or not. They didn't. Also, thing number 2, always be packing. Ain't nobody robbing me. So
Fair.
I'm just saying, like, fair. Always be packing. But that's awesome though that they had that class for you, because I only took one class and it was in 8th grade, and it was called money management, but it didn't actually really, it didn't teach you everything. Like, yeah, they taught us how to write a check, but here's the thing. They taught me all the things that my parents taught me how to do. Like, I did the envelope thing because, you being a former bartender and server, you had a lot of cash. So every time during the week, like, I would, have it divvied down as to how much I have to pay every single week to each of our bills. So like, I would just, here's in this envelope, here's in this envelope, here's in this, and I would do that. Well, now I still have some cash, like every so often, like I honestly need to just, go pull some cash out of the bank just to keep that on me. But now it's like phone bills on auto pay, internet bills on auto pay.
Yep.
The only bills that I don't have on auto pay are my 2 student loans, our rents, and our electric bill. Those the only, and I could technically put those on auto pay too, but I like because I already know how much the
I want to be the one to click go on those. There's some of them, like especially electric. You're going to pay it kind of regardless, but the moment there's like a weird abnormal spike, I would rather see that and have the ability to question it rather than just like the money being pulled out and you're like, hold on a minute. Especially when you have like winter storms and stuff like that, you're like, hang on a minute. I've seen when they do surge pricing.
Right, because like our internet bill is typically the same. If it goes up, they'll send me an email to let me know. Our phone bill is typically going to be the same, and we know roughly about how much it is. So it's like there's really nothing that changes on those. Again, it's same with my student loans. I mean, my interest rate's so low that the bill has stayed the same for the last like 5 years that I've paid on it, 4 or 5 years that I've paid on it. So like I'm not too concerned about those. So it's like, and then everything else is just like subscription based or business based, and then your variable changes like gas, groceries, things like that. So there's definitely some variable changes, but it's like I feel like a lot of people just weren't taught how to manage money. Like that's just, and it's sad because it's like a lot of people are just like, and I get it, like the money comes in and then before you know it, boom, the money's immediately gone because of all the bills and everything. But it's just, there's a lot of things that you can control. Like don't always go out on the weekends. Don't go spend this money ordering food, Uber Eats, DoorDash. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect with everything, but we found a way to really mitigate how much we spend every month so that we don't go too far into the red for how much we are actually spending. So, just
Yeah.
thought I'd throw that out there. Got off on like a little tangent. I'll get off my soapbox now, but just figured we were on the topic of Black Friday and money and credit cards. So,
Yeah. No, definitely. So talking about money, wasting money, things like that. Have you heard the rumor that Nissan, the car company, may only have about a year left before they have to file for bankruptcy or get sold off to Honda just to keep things afloat? I saw this news start to circulate on X, and it's a rumor right now. So I'll read this off. It says, things aren't looking good at Nissan. Dealers are selling cars at a loss. Production has slowed. And more recently, the company cut thousands of jobs and sold a third of its stake to Mitsubishi. But it all may have been too little, too late. A new report suggests that the automaker's days are numbered. In an interview with the Financial Times, two unnamed Nissan executives said the company has 12 to 14 months to survive. Quote, this is going to be tough, and in the end, we need Japan and the US to be generating cash, they said. The company is reportedly looking for a new long-term investor, such as a bank or a large insurance group, to replace some of Renault's equity holdings, and Renault's the parent company. Says the company also hasn't ruled out the possibility of longtime rival Honda taking a majority stake in the company, saying, quote, all options are on the table. Now, Nissan recently signed a partnership with Honda and Mitsubishi for long-term EV development. Renault, the parent company, is even considering selling a portion of its shares to Honda. The French automaker is reportedly looking to restructure its 25-year alliance with Nissan. An unnamed source within the company says that a larger Honda-Nissan partnership would, quote, only be positive for the French automaker. So it seems like through the rumor mill, of course, I will preface, this is a rumor that started to circulate through certain news outlets, but it seems like Honda may be owning Nissan here by the end of the next year, potentially, if they can't turn, the financial ship around with this.
I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised a lot of dealerships haven't had to really. I mean, you have to think, like, what are your big ones? You have GMC, which owns, I don't freaking know.
Well, you have General Motors, so it's like it's GMC, it's Chevrolet,
Ford.
Ford's separate. So Ford is part of.
They're Motorcraft.
Are they? No, aren't they?
Because that's what a lot of their parts are. That I when I have to get worked on my car, and if I take it to Ford, it's usually Motorcraft parts. Is there?
Gotcha. I thought Ford was part of a different.
Every
Daimler. Is Ford part of Daimler?
Let's find out. Let's see.
Or is Daimler? Oh no, Mercedes-Benz is Daimler. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, basically all the car companies are owned by just like a very small number of car companies.
So Ford is
the best in Texas. Yeah, the Ford Motor Company. So it's Jaguar, Land Rover, Lincoln, Mazda, Mercury, and Volvo. Then you got General Motors, which is Buick, Cadillac, Chevy, Daewoo, Fiat, GMC, Holden, Hummer, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Saturn, Suzuki.
Check this out.
Yeah.
This is what I was looking for right here.
There you go.
So Honda and Acura.
Yeah.
GM is Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, Cadillac. Let's see where's Ford at. So Ford is just Ford and Lincoln.
Yeah.
Toyota is Lexus, Toyota. BMW is Mini Cooper, Rolls Royce, BMW. Volkswagen has quite a few. What is that? Stellantis.
Oh yeah, Stellantis. Yeah,
yeah,
they're a big one.
Yeah, Chrysler. Like they have like a decent chunk of the. So the fourth largest. So that means if Honda picks up, where's Nissan at? Nissan. So if they pick up that means they'll have Infiniti, Datsun, and Nissan if Honda buys them off. But the thing is, though, is I will say, I'm happy that there's so many different car brands out there with different manufacturers because, again, you know, consumer protection,
Yeah.
the deceptive trade practices, like all that kind of stuff, and you can't monopolize it. I'm happy for that, but I feel like we have so many car brands now, but at the same time, car prices have just continued to go up. They have not come down, even with all the rate fluctuations and everything. And it's because they can't produce enough vehicles, which I get. I understand.
Well, they're also adding more bells and whistles to them too. There's more
That
computer parts.
people don't even. I'm going to say this with love. People can't even use their daggum turn signals. Why do they need more bells and whistles in their freaking cars to begin with that they probably don't even know how to use half of it? Again, let alone that they can't even use a freaking turn signal. I'm going to get off that soapbox before I go too far. But I'm just saying.
Sounds like someone personally affected you.
There wasn't anyone personally. It was a lot of people that don't use their signals when they cut people off on the high. Like, I'm just saying, it's like, if you want more bells and whistles, how about you learn how to operate the bare basics of your car before you try to go spend $80,000 on the newest thing? For example, a Cybertruck or even the newest Volkswagen electric bus that I've already been seeing people buy. And in my mind, when they come out with a new vehicle like that, I actually want to know this. If for any of our listeners out there, I want you to comment, even if you don't own it. I just want to know I just want to hear your opinion. What compels people, like when they see the newest vehicle come out, they're like, I have to go buy this right now. And you feel like it's like people that probably shouldn't even own that type of vehicle. Like when they came out with the new Bronco, I saw like what appeared to be like a 65-year-old person get out of one of those, driving it around. And I'm like, I feel like she should not be driving that. Like that's and again, I mean, maybe she can. I didn't actually see her drive it, so I mean, but she got out of the driver's seat. But it's like when they come out with a new vehicle, I just want to know what goes off in someone's head where they're like, "Ah, I want a $600 a month car payment or a $600 a month lease, where I'm paying all this money for this car." And there are a lot of people who do leases now. They don't even just buy vehicles; they just lease it, which seems to be beneficial for them. But I'm just curious about that. Like when a new vehicle comes out, what compels you to be like, I want this, I need this now, and it's like $80,000?
I think it's psychology, because it's the same mechanism in your brain that gets triggered when the new iPhone comes out or the new Android, or the things that get on these annual cyclical cycles, which is cyclical. It's psychology of wanting to having the new shiny object. Like, why are people fascinated when they see gold? Why do people want to buy the new Madden every year when it's literally the same game minus a few tweaks here and there? So it's like these little things that I think, if I remember correctly, I remember learning at one point, I think Chevy was the first, maybe not the first. I think Chevy was the first car company to pioneer the annual model updates because they wanted to sell more vehicles.
Was it Chevy? I couldn't remember if it was Chevy or if it was Dodge.
It might have been. Let's see here. Which car company created first annual model year? Yeah, General Motors introduced the concept of annual model year updates in the 1920s under the leadership of Alfred Sloan Jr. The practice was adopted from the fashion industry and was an early form of planned obsolescence. The goal is to make it easy for customers to tell if a car was new. So you got to keep up with the Joneses, man.
I guess, man. And so, question for you: is there anything that exists today that you're like, I gotta have that? Like every time they come out with one.
Not to the point that I click buy. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, I always want to have like a relatively up-to-date phone. Like if I get more than 2 model years back, that's usually when I'll update. I don't need to have the latest one, but I do want to, like, when I do get a new one, I do get the latest one at that time. Computers, usually, like, I'm kind of like that with computers, except I don't buy a new computer every year. But it's like when I do, it's like the latest at that point in time. But like my desktop's getting kind of old, but I'm not itching to replace it quite yet. Also, just because it's expensive, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready to drop that kind of money.
That's why I haven't upgraded anything else on my PC. I'm like, everything still works. Everything runs everything I need it to run, so I'm good.
When I was I think when I was more of like a kid or a teenager, video game consoles. I think that's what got me. I would always
Yeah.
want like I never could like growing up. I didn't always have the latest console. I always had like hand me downs and stuff like that.
Right.
But once I had the ability to, I was like, oh, PlayStation 3 came out, got to get it. PlayStation 4, I didn't get it. I stopped buying consoles. But at the time, like going from 2 to 3, all that, like I
Right.
felt like I had to have it.
So I'm I'm similar in some ways. So like for the gaming console, like I didn't get hand like I got gaming consoles like growing up. Like I didn't always get the newest one, but like when the Xbox 360, came out, like I wanted it for a birthday gift, but I paid half for it. So like I met my parents halfway and got that. I had the PS2, then my parents got me the PS3 for Christmas, and then I bought myself the PS4. I actually bought it shortly before we moved to Denton because I was like, I want this. Like, so I sold my PS3 and I bought it myself and didn't even open it up until after we moved. Like, once we moved and got everything set up, then I opened it up and I was like, all right, cool. And then I bought the PS4 Pro. So I sold my PS4, bought the Pro. And then I have a PS5 right now, but it's not like I'm like, okay, I got to go get the Pro now because that's out. I'm not spending $700 on a console that I only literally use to watch anime or play the PlayStation exclusives on. Like that's
Yeah.
it. As far as my phone, I think this iPhone is actually the first iPhone that I've gotten that's actually been the most up to date model. So I think when we first switched, we got the iPhone 8 or the 8 Plus, and then we waited 4 years, and then we got the 12 Pro Maxes, and then we just got the 16 Pro Maxes. So it's like I could go 4 years without getting a new phone, and then they'll still run the same freaking. Oh, bring in your old phone and trade it in for $1,000 off. Like I could do that and be perfectly fine. The laptop, I feel like this year is going to be the year for a new laptop. This one's kind of got a little bit of damage to it, like not screen wise, but like some of like the casing on
Just
it's
like
got
wear and tear.
yeah, just wear and tear, and it's starting to run a little bit slower. Um, I'm struggling because I already have an iPhone, I already have an iPad. I want to get a MacBook, but dude, I can't justify spending that $2,000 on a MacBook. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
And
there's one that I
Apple's
want.
good at making you feel like you have old stuff, and they want you to upgrade.
Well, the
They
thing
want
is,
you to get that latest chip.
they ultimately admitted to the whole like, oh,
Yep.
we slow down your stuff, but then they stopped doing that.
Apparently.
Apparently they stopped doing it. Well, I mean, I've noticed it because like our Pro Maxes, 12 Pro Maxes were still perfectly fine. I realistically didn't even have to upgrade it, but it was right there. They were offering the $1,000 off, so I did it. But as far as the laptop, I've always had HP or Microsoft laptops, and they've always been good to me. So I'm like, okay, well, do I want to keep using Microsoft or do I want to go and just switch to Apple, considering I've already got an iPhone and an iPad? Like I don't need an Apple Watch. Realistically, I want one. Do I need one? Not really. Like I can do everything I need to do on my phone. I don't need an Apple Watch. Like if I get one, it's primarily for just working out and keeping up with all my like stuff.
Yeah.
But that's something that I'm kind of struggling with. Like, do I want to spend the $2,400 next year and get a MacBook Pro and just go ahead and upgrade, or do I want to just spend $1,200 and get another, get the update, like the latest model of whatever HP laptop there is, and just buy that?
Those of you listening right now, let Riley know down in the comments what he should do, and he is going to follow the sound advice of the first person to leave a comment. Pretty sure Riley is on board to wholeheartedly follow the advice of whoever is the first person to comment with the answer to Riley's question.
And you have to give me a good reason why I should choose either or.
Oh, like so you're going down with this. You're cool with it. You're going to follow the advice of whoever comments whatever advice.
If you can give me because I've done research, but if for someone who's actually used a specific product, if you could actually give me good, because there's still no guarantee I'm going to buy one this year. But if I do end up having to buy a new laptop, like my laptop is just not working, it's just not having it, I do need to upgrade. I need to know which laptop I should get and why I should get that laptop. And keep in mind, I don't use if it's a Microsoft laptop, it's going to be an HP. I don't really use any other, I don't use Dell or anything like that. Like it's going to be an HP. And if it's a MacBook, well, then it's a MacBook because that's the only laptop that Apple makes is just MacBooks. So if it's one of those two, I want to know why. So, not saying I'll do it, but I want to know why.
Well, he said he wasn't going to buy one this year. Conveniently, next month is next year.
This upcoming year. We'll see what happens, but that is something I've definitely thought about. Just because, I mean, we're just on that topic, so I'm just like, I do want to upgrade eventually, but I don't know what I'd want. But yeah, as far as that goes, do you have anything else on yours? I say you have a couple other things.
Yeah, I'll let you pick. I got two more, but I'm only going to hit on one of these, and I'll let you pick. Do you want to know about the commercial mortgage disaster that is looming on the horizon? I know I've talked about this before.
Ooh.
Or do you want to be more frustrated with humanity and learn about these reverse supercommuters?
So I'll be honest, both, because I saw the Super-Commuter, that one intrigued me a lot because I'm like, ooh, like I want to know what that is. But I actually am more interested in the mortgage-backed securities. Like I want to know more about that because, for one, I mean that affects my business in a way.
Gotcha. Let me share this post real quick. So this is from the Kobayashi letter, kind of a well-respected financial account and newsletter on the topic. So it says, breaking: the delinquency rate on commercial mortgage-backed securities, otherwise known as CMBS, for offices spiked to 10.4% in the month of November, the highest since 2013. The delinquency rate on office CMBS loans has soared by more than 5 times over the last 2 years. Delinquencies are now rising at a faster pace than during the 2008 financial crisis. This puts the office CMBS delinquency rate on track to exceed a record of 10.7% seen in 2012. Meanwhile, the overall United States CMBS delinquency rate has risen from 4.6% to 6.4% over the last 12 months, the highest since 2020. The commercial real estate crisis is accelerating. So what we see here on the screen is a chart showing year over year of the commercial mortgage-backed securities delinquency rates by percentage. You can also see there's like timestamps of different things that have happened throughout history as well. So we can go all the way back to like 2003, 2004, 2005. There was that recession that happened there coming out of the dot-com boom. Then you also have in 2009 through about 2014, you had the financial crisis. You can see a huge spike there. And you can see on the very far right where we're headed. We're now breaking through that barrier. Who knows how much higher this is going to go? You also have 2016, 2017, 2018, when you had oil prices kind of go crazy around that time period. You also see a spike in commercial mortgage-backed securities happening then with delinquencies. So, correlation doesn't always equal causation, but we are in an interesting territory here where we are seeing the delinquency rate start to spike for these commercial properties. So the question is, what happens next?
I'll be honest, I don't know. And that's the scary part.
Either. And that's the fun part. I just love speculating. I love to see graphs like this and just be like, that's interesting data. I don't have a forecast on my side, but what I will say, and this is age-old advice, what goes up must come down.
And here's the thing, though. It's like, there's going to be a lot of our viewers that are probably going to look at this and be like, oh, it's all commercial stuff. I don't have to worry about it. You kind of do, though. Like, you don't have to worry about it, but it affects the economy. And that's one of the things about some people's, like, when someone gets upset about one little small thing, they start thinking like, oh, like, this one thing, but it's like, you have to look at everything as a whole. Like, what could this do in the long run? Because like you said, we've talked about it, but the fact that all those office buildings in like Austin, that a lot of them are just vacant, like nobody's using them now because nobody has to. Like the age of entrepreneurs, the age of like working from home and just meeting people at a workspace and just working there instead of having an office building, like that's the age that we're heading into. Like, no one has to go into an office building anymore. Everyone can literally just work on the go, work from home, do their things that they need to do without having to go to a physical office. And it's sad because theoretically you could, and there's actually a thing that you can do with commercial buildings, which I don't know why they haven't done it yet, but I learned this in I think it was the investing class that I did.
So we like retrofit them for apartments?
For condos.
Yeah.
They turn them into condos, like, but you have to get approval to do so, and then you turn them into condos, and then you just sell those off. So people have, like, you can own a whole floor, you can own a specific, but it's possible. They would just have to do it, and so it would take money, but if you could make some of your money back, why not do it?
Here's another graph here, delinquency rates compared to commercial real estate. And you can see the gray bars following 2000, 2008, and 2020. Those are recessionary periods. And then the line is the year-over-year change in commercial real estate delinquency rates, basically what we were just looking at in the prior graph. So you can see how they correlate with that early 2000s period, that 2008 post period, that 2020 post period. Now the question is, how high are the delinquency rates going to go before we're formally in a recessionary period? Because most of the time, you don't really recognize recessions until after the fact in terms of a lot of this data capture here. And especially now, it's notorious where the government or the Fed will put out certain metrics, data points, and then end up having to revise them 3 to 6 months later.
Right.
And sometimes they're way off on some of these numbers, in the wrong direction too. So it'll be interesting just to see where this heads. I don't have any educated answers on this. I just know when I see graphs like this and you see one line goes up and that happens to correlate with the recessionary period, I'll call a spade a spade.
Well, the thing is, though, is when it comes to recessions, I haven't gone into detail about this because, again, I still don't know what I don't know. Whatever happens the rest of this year as far as rates go, which we still have a month left, and they said that we're supposed to have 1 to 2 more rate drops this year. That's what they said.
They say a lot of things.
They do. So we'll see what happens. Now, next year, they're speculating anywhere from 5 to 8 rate drops. So whatever happens next year is not going to take effect right away. I can't remember who it was that I was watching, but they talked about real estate. And they said if you're going to get into any form of real estate, your window is 2025 and 2026. That is your window. If you don't get in within those next couple, I'm definitely gonna do more research myself on this, so don't take my word for anything. But if you are going to buy any kind of property, 2025 and 2026 is going to be the window to do so, when rates are quite potentially going to be at their lowest. The market is going to be at its lowest, and it's not going to be as bad as 2020 with COVID, but it's going to be easier for a lot of the people who missed out, that have been struggling to get back to that or find their way to that. It's going to be easier for them to do so. So just, again, I do my research because it's part of my job, but I encourage other people to do their research as well. And again, if you don't know where to look or know what to do and you're looking for someone to guide you, I'll put this shameless plug in there. But again, I do work in real estate and I work in the DFW area. You can find me on social media. You can find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, shoot me a DM, or whatever the case, whatever your preferred form of contact is. And we'll have conversations. We'll talk. We'll chat about it. My job and my goal is to make sure that you're set up for success. So definitely want to be here for those people, and especially coming up in these next 2 crucial years, because this is when the new administration is taking over. So these next 2 years are actually going to be very crucial for just everything. So we want to make sure that, we're all, not to be like a High School Musical, but we're literally all in this together. Whether or not we share different views or not, we're all in it together. And we need to watch. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, you want to take care of yourselves, but you also want to watch out for those around you too. Be those people. So.
No, a fun chuckle just to leave everybody with. I'm not going to go through this whole article, but just for those who want to go check this out on their own. There's this thing called a reverse supercommuter. Now, we've all heard the term supercommuter, probably, or at least the term commuter. It means you live relatively a good distance away from where you actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Easy example is you live in the suburbs, but you work in the city, so you commute in. Now, when you're a supercommuter, maybe you live, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns away, and maybe your commute is like hour and a half without traffic. That would be considered a super commuter. Now, what is a super commuter? Well, the New York Post has an article here, and it says, I love living in New York City and working out of state for a lower salary. Now, isn't that odd? Article says, if New Yorker Caroline Colvin can make it here, she'll make it anywhere. Her full-time job in Baltimore, for example. Now, unlike countless 9-to-5ers commuting from small hometowns into big cities for big checks, this Gen Z gal is doing things backwards. Quote, I'm a reverse supercommuter, Midtown resident Colvin, who is 23, told the New York Post. Here's a photo. You can make your assumptions from there. Quote, I live in New York City, which is an expensive, high cost of living city, she explained. Quote, and I work in Baltimore, which is less expensive and has a lower cost of living, end quote. I'm definitely paying more on bills and rent, added Colvin, a social media manager for the Peabody Institute of Johns Hopkins University, where she commutes multiple times per week, she said, quote, and I'm receiving a slightly lower paycheck. It's a topsy-turvy twist on the supercommuting trend, a movement made popular by non-New Yorkers who don't mind taking massive treks into the office. Now, Caitlin J. on Upper West Side, an Upper West Side hairdresser living in North Carolina, previously told the Post that making the 600-mile bi-weekly hike from Charlotte, North Carolina to Manhattan, New York by plane gives her, quote, the best of both worlds. Quote, I love what I do in New York, and I love life in Charlotte, said Jay, who is 30 years old, who said she spends about $1,000 for airfare to and fro. She says, I'm coming out ahead. Now you have Grace Chang, hoofs it from Arlington, Virginia, to her job in Hell's Kitchen, which is in New York, twice a week. But the millennial financial analyst insists that the hellish 500-mile journey, which costs about $1,000 each month, is well worth the hassle. So, Riley, I'll leave you with this question. Why don't you commute to Houston every week to sell more homes? That couple that you talked about last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and you were like, you know what? No, this is like a 2.5, 3-hour drive. I question you. Are you really ready to be a super reverse commuter or not? I need you to do better. I need you to commute to cities like Denver, Colorado, Seattle, Washington. Heck, why not just go to New York? Call it a day. I need you to start selling more condos in New York. You really want to make your sales goal this year? Sell more condos in Manhattan. Just super commute.
I mean, I would definitely have to get a license in New York.
I hear excuses. I want solutions.
So, why?
I'll preface, that was only half of the article too. There's just more examples of these like reverse super commuters.
Okay. First of all, if you're happy, that's amazing.
And if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. I don't know. Like
I guess they're clapping right now. But again, if you're happy with what you're doing, that's fine. And here's the thing. Your goal may not be to own a house. Your goal may be to just do exactly what you're doing right now. And that's perfectly fine. But if you have goals for those in the future, for certain financial goals, you're not going to meet it by spending $1,000, $4,000 a month. That's more than Dana makes in a month.
Plus just the hassle of having to fly or drive that on a regular basis.
Like let's say you go, it would be beneficial for you to just fly there for the entire Monday, just stay there Monday through Friday and just sleep on the park bench and just instead of flying, because that's so the flight's probably not that long, probably an hour flight maybe. But then the time that you would have to take to sit in the airport, if the flight gets delayed, Like, you're stuck there. I'm just saying, like, there's so many caveats that I can't fathom. Like, I probably, like, I just can't understand because I'm not in that position. But I'm like, why?
That's a great
Like,
question. The why. I mean, like, I get it. Someone wants to have the small town lifestyle, but they want to have the job that requires the big city. Like, I get that, but
and
it's not
and
worth it.
and not every place is fortunate. Which, I mean, yeah, some of those bigger cities, they have the subways, they have the trains and stuff like that, which we're Texas within the next 25 years is probably going to have, depending on how quick they move on it. And it'll definitely make it easy for that kind of stuff. So you can live in the middle of nowhere and still go to work in Austin, Houston, San Antonio, whatever the case, Galveston. So it'd be awesome. It'd be great. But I guess for me personally, I um, can't really understand. I can't. More power to you. I'm glad that that seems to be, you know, working out for you right now. But I just, I don't know. That's just something for me that I can't do. Like, that's a lot of money. Like, and unless you're, which I think one of those, she looked like she, had a relationship, either boyfriend or they were engaged or married or something. Um, and so if his income, if he's working where they're living at and maybe he's paying the bills, then, maybe that works out. If she's making enough money to afford the travel and then afford whatever else they're wanting to do, then kudos to you. But I just, oh man, that hurts. Like, just hearing that, like, that's a lot of money. But if they're
Yeah.
happy, they're happy. I mean, and up there in areas like that too, travel doesn't take that long, especially if you do it by flight. Like, you're not traveling that far realistically. It's just the money part that hurts. Maybe you enjoy the traveling, but the money part is what I have questions about. I'm like, why? So
Yeah. And with that, I think that wraps up episode 44 of the Unscripted Company podcast. I, on my part, want to leave those of you out there listening with the question: how far would you be willing to commute for your dream job? Let's pretend dream job, dream salary, or dream compensation package. How far would you be willing to make that commute? While you're down below typing out the answers to that, a couple of boilerplate things. First of all, thank you for making it to the end of the episode. As always, if you haven't done so yet, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow. Definitely appreciate it. Helps spread the podcast out there. The algorithms, the feeds, they love that sort of thing. Also want to direct you over to our website, unscriptedcompany.com. You can find a link to go find some merchandise. You can see Riley and I are wearing some lovely hoodies. I know it's getting chilly outside. I know in the Northeast, if you're a super commuter in New York, I know you're already getting snow. I know it's getting really cold out there, and we have some great hoodies to keep you warm. What else do I want to throw out there? Oh, yeah, there's like a newsletter. You can subscribe to the newsletter out there as well. But as always, Riley, I'm going to toss it over to you for the final words of wisdom. Drop some knowledge on these beautiful people.
Yeah, so I just to kind of reiterate, we do appreciate all the support. We appreciate everything that you guys do. Again, just the even if it's not monetary support, just the support we've got throughout this past year. We have a lot of changes, a lot of things that we're discussing coming into the next year. And so we just appreciate everything. Yeah. How do you feel about commuting that far? Like, is that something that you would want to do? For me personally, I mean, I drive everywhere that I work because of what I do for work. So, I mean, for me, it's easy to drive 45 minutes to an hour somewhere. That's just what I do on a daily basis. Again, all the changes that are happening with our country as a whole. Are you doing your research? Are you staying up to date on all the latest changes of things that are slated to happen? Don't get caught in credit card debt. Apparently, like the $75 billion that was spent over Black Friday. Try not to get caught up in all that. And would you pay $6.2 million for a banana just to eat it and post a video about it? So all these are questions that we need answers to. So please leave those comments down below to those questions, and maybe we'll feature you here in the coming episodes. So